everybody. How's it going? Welcome to the Friday edition of Burn It Down with Kim Brown. This is the place where we indeed set oppression ablaze. I'm so very glad and appreciative that all of y'all, how many of y'all is it exactly? All of yous, the large and the small of yous. I'm so appreciative that you all made some time to join me on this evening. Because I really feel as though things are taking a darker and more serious tone, as though the world could get any more serious. And even though many of us do feel as though we're living in the dystopia, we're living in the upside down, I see the normalization of outright atrocities and the minimization of an entire erasure of a people and a land and a culture and a history being equivocated, right? To comparatively smaller violence. So I'm obviously going to get into the situation that occurred this week on the streets of DC. Um, and this shit is crazy. And that's pretty much the only thing I'm going to talk about. In addition to what continues to happen in Palestine, now 19 months into an unrelenting slaughter of the Palestinian people, and the incredible ways in which the Israeli government, the mainstream American Western media, particularly US media, horrifically complicit into what is going on. And we're just going to get into it. So, the political assassination of two embassy workers outside of the Jewish Museum in Washington, D.C. the other night has captured and galvanized Western attention, right? Unfortunately, it has not, it has managed to gain the attention and the uh, outrage and the swift condemnation of the alleged actions of Elias Rodriguez, a 30 or 31-year-old young man from Chicago. His age, I don't understand why there's not uniformity in reporting his age, but he's either 30 or 31. He has now been charged with 2 counts of murder in connection with the embassy employees who work for the Israeli embassy. They were departing an event at the DC's Jewish Museum, which happens to be, I think, in just a stone's throw of the FBI building, which is an interesting and something interesting to note. Something interesting to note. I have questions. Okay, I have serious questions about Elias's true motivations, though after checking out his manifesto, it seems to be genuinely ideologically driven, not hate driven, as being the narrative we are hearing screamed at in legacy media, in mainstream media outlets. Obviously, the same narrative coming from this administration that anti-Semitism will not be tolerated. And to be clear, as someone who lives in proximity to DC and has myself, I found myself on the streets of Washington, D.C., doing whatever the fuck, walking, minding my fucking business. I do not support people being shot down on the street. And I do wish that this level of concern and urgency that we're seeing come out from all corners, I wish that same level of concern was extended to overwhelmingly the residents of Washington, D.C., who have found themselves on the receiving end of gun violence, including a great number of children, teens, little kids, all kinds of people tragically have been murdered on the streets of Washington, D.C. Yet the murder of these two Israeli employees, embassy workers, diplomats, or however you want to classify them, um, people are really disheartened and upset about that. Not to say that they shouldn't, but I'd like to see the empathy and concern more equitably distributed. Let's say that. I feel a weird way because like I said, after reading Elias's manifesto, it seemed very well grounded and deeply rooted in his like how appalled he is at the genocide that has been allowed to occur, not only under Donald Trump, but of course under President Biden. He had a lot of criticisms specifically for Netanyahu's far right-wing extremist government and for the policies of what we're now seeing happening and play out in Gaza at this very moment, with seemingly this final solution option being executed against people in Gaza, right? But not once in that manifesto did he say, I hate Jews. Not once did he espouse some sort of conspiratorial rant about how the Jews are controlling this, the Jews control that. The kind of thing that I equate with anti Semitism, that, Jews are bad. He didn't say that. He said Netanyahu is bad. And guess what? Netanyahu is bad. The policies of Israel as a settler colony are terrible. The ideology, I'm sorry, I'm a little stoned because I'm a little blown by this whole situation, to be perfectly honest. But the ideology of Zionism is indeed terrible. Okay. These are not anti Semitic views. Anti Semitism, I'm sorry, I thought for most logical, reasonable, rational thinking people is pretty straightforward, right? It is antipathy or hatred for people who follow Judaism, right? I don't support anti Semitism per that definition. And from what Elias Rodriguez's own words seem to indicate, he didn't either. In fact, according to eyewitnesses, the night of the shooting, again, a lot of these details, like shit is sketch. It's a little sketch, and I'm not exactly quite sure what to make of it, because I don't want to run with any assumptions given that all the information is not yet clear or made available. But again, being a close resident, approximate resident of DC, I saw all the local coverage when it happened. I saw the local eyewitnesses that they interviewed in the moments immediately afterwards. So this is what the eyewitnesses said on TV, that an event was letting out at the Jewish Museum. Allegedly, Elias Rodriguez was outside, and once the couple who he ended up shooting walked past him, that's when he turned and allegedly shot them in the back. Now, eyewitness reports also indicate, now, to be clear, nobody said he said anything to them. He didn't say, according to what people who were there had to say. He threw the gun in the bushes and then went inside of the museum, where museum workers mistook him for a bystander of the shooting, right? Because they said that he came in, he seemed to be scared, he seemed to be upset, and they asked him to have a seat. And they asked him, did he want water? And he did. He accepted water. He chatted with them for several minutes, 10 to 15 minutes, according to eyewitness accounts. And when Metropolitan Police, DC Police, arrived on the scene, that is when he surrendered to police and confessed to the shooting while screaming out, "Free Palestine, free Palestine. I did it for Gaza." Okay? Now, were he a true hate crime perpetuator, right? If this crime was truly motivated by hate and by anti-Semitism, how come he didn't go into the Jewish Museum and shoot more people? Like I said, this event was letting out. He shot two folks. How did he know those folks were Israeli embassy workers? Did he not know? But if it was truly motivated by hate, then why not shoot everybody? Why toss the gun and then immediately surrender and confess to police? How many murder suspects do that? You know what I'm saying? Like this is I mean, no, again, I'm not making light of this situation at all. Okay? I'm making an observation. Usually murder cases, especially in Washington D.C., let's be clear, where people get shot down on the streets with some frequency. The DC clearance rate for homicides for the DC police, I think hovers like around 50-55%. It's not great. It is not a great clearance rate. So here you have an alleged murderer not running, not disposing of the murder weapon in any making it difficult for the police to recover it at all, and then immediately confessing and surrendering. Now, could this guy have been very much willing to throw his life away to make this statement in this act of political violence? Because again, that's how I take this. I suppose because the victims were embassy workers, diplomats, that's why that's part of the reason I classify this as a political assassination. I don't see hate speech. And contrary to what the Zionists want us to believe, Free Palestine is not a call to terrorism. It is a demand and a vision for what most humane people who value literal human life, people who understand that the land that the Palestinians are on, Gaza, is their land. They're not occupying it, they're being occupied. They are the true inheritors of that land. And to say free Palestine, to say from the river to the sea, these are not calls to terrorism. These are calls for liberation of a desperately you can't even say oppressed at this point, because it's what is happening to the Palestinians is a gross atrocity. I saw one creator call it, this is a moral clarifying moment, literally for us all, right? Whenever we look back in history, what would you have done during the Holocaust? What would you have done during the Civil Rights Movement? What would you have done during the apartheid movement? Now is one of those times. now is that time, right now. And I hope everybody is on the correct side of the barricade, as it were, when it comes to the issue of the genocide of the Palestinian people. It nauseates me as a resident, as a citizen of this rotten fucking colony. It nauseates me that tax dollars that I have contributed to this fucking enterprise unwittingly and with against my choice are going towards funding the bombing of kids in Gaza. Okay, by the way, tens of thousands of these children are on the brink of starvation if they are not already starving. And the false equivocation of, again, a terrible act, what happened on the streets of DC with those two Israeli embassy workers being gunned down in the streets, it does not equivocate to 50,000 Palestinian lives lost over the past 19 months. And I also want to be clear, most acts of anti-Semitism committed in America are usually committed by Christians. By the way, I mean, again, or white nationalists, white supremacists. Elias Rodriguez, by the way, a Christian, an American, not a Muslim, not an Arab, not a Palestinian. Someone who I suspect is deeply hurt by what we have all been watching happening to Palestinians for almost, for going on 2 years, over a year and a half now. And to be clear, I don't think what he did is going to help or assist the situation that Palestinians find themselves in. In fact, I question the timing of all of this, because this assassination of these two embassy workers happened a day, if that, within the time that IDF soldiers, and I won't say allegedly because it's caught on camera, it's on tape, shot at dozens of foreign diplomats who were visiting the West Bank. I'm going to get to that in a little bit. But I want us to be reminded, as America in particular, as the West more broadly, focuses on the life and the loss of these two embassy workers on the streets of DC. I don't want us to ever forget what's going on in Palestine and what's been going on in Palestine. So I have a few clips here that I want to run, and we're going to come back and talk about the timing, guys. I'm not a tinfoil hat wearer. I'm not a conspiracy theorist pusher. But when shit don't look right, when shit looks funny, I just like to observe and denote my observations, and y'all can concur, you could oppose, you could chime in, you could build upon, you could tear down. Okay, I'm just telling you, the shit don't look right. But more importantly, I don't ever want us to forget what the Palestinians are experiencing at this moment, actively experiencing a genocide, constantly being bombed, being denied aid, even as a trickle of aid is allowed in to the Gaza Strip. So anyway, let's take a look at these clips and then we'll come back.
Turning desperation to chaos. Most of Gaza's 170 community kitchens reportedly shut down earlier this month after running out of stock. One of the few still operating in Gaza's south, children crushed behind barricades. Workers overwhelmed by the demand.
أنا كان أملنا الوحيد هي زيارة دونالد ترامب إلى الشرق الأوسط، أن تبدي حلولا وأن تبدي نوعا ما فتح المعابر وادخال المساعدات الإنسانية بأسرع وقت ممكن إلى قطاع غزة، لكنها الزيارة على قرب الانتهاء ولم تدخل أي قطرة ماء إلى قطاع غزة.
The policy of siege and starvation makes a mockery of international law. Nothing justifies the atrocious October 7 terror attacks by Hamas, but nothing justifies the collective punishment of the Palestinian people.
Amid weeks of warnings from aid agencies that Gaza is on the brink of famine, the Israeli Prime Minister's office has announced it will now allow some aid into the Strip. At the recommendation of the IDF and out of the operational need to enable the expansion of intense fighting to defeat Hamas, Israel will allow a basic amount of food for the population to ensure that a hunger crisis does not develop in the Gaza Strip.
I think this is the end. We survived for more than 19 months of this genocide. But I don't think we will survive after today. Since last night, the bombing has not stopped. How did you allow this? How? World leaders, where are you from all this? We sleep hungry, homeless without shelter. Where are you? You just ignore and live your lives comfortably. If you have a heart, please don't leave us alone. Press all the buttons, comment with long comment. And if you have anything to support me and 15 members of my family, please, the link is in my bio. Please don't underestimate.
We are dying of hunger. Does anyone hear us? And we must call out. Help me, please. Share this video so that I can find someone to help me. You are my only hope, friends. God bless you. Thank you so much from the bottom of my heart. Goodbye.
So if you are on apps like TikTok, you probably see those kinds of videos on your feed daily. And that last gentleman, I've been seeing his videos for weeks, and that is clearly the weakest that he has been. He can barely get his words out. There's been a steady deterioration in how the folks that have been coming to the social media platforms and asking for aid, asking for assistance. And some people ask, well, how does that even work? Like, if you send them money, can they buy? And it's like, well, I guess it all depends, right? Because the humanitarian blockade has been in place for what, y'all, almost 70 days. We're talking since early March. Here we are, late May. And it's everything. It's flour, it's water, it's fuel to power the ability to, is it called not distillation but desalinization, to remove the salt from the water in order to make it drinkable. They need fuel in order to run those machines to do that. There's no baby formula coming in, there's no medicine, there's no antibiotics, there's no anesthesia, there are no other types of medical supplies. This is an intentional forced starvation upon a for all intents and purposes, a defenseless population, but for Hamas, right? For fuck's sake. And I guess that's the expectations, that Palestinians shouldn't and never fight back. They should just accept being ethnically cleansed from their homelands. They should accept being starved. They should accept the denial of medicine to allow the reemergence of diseases like polio. Like, this is just the suffering that they deserve. Like, that is what the fuck message that the Netanyahu government is sending, and bipartisan administrations of the American government is sending, and the governments of the West are sending. It is an abomination against humanity that this is occurring right in front of our fucking faces. And I understand that there are millions of people, tens of millions of people. Big up to the United Kingdom, like to the people of the UK anyway, the people that came out for that ginormous rally, the second to last weekend in May, with 500,000 people showed up. Big up yourself, UK. That's good stuff. And some of the pressure is being felt. So I want to get to that in a moment, but hold on. Just to underscore the kind of atrocities that we're talking about, to the extent that Netanyahu and his cronies are brought up on war crime charges, crimes against humanity, that, the United States are not signatories to the ICJ or the ICC, but that don't mean that the rest of the world does not accept the charges of war criminality and genocide as very much as legitimate against Netanyahu and who else, Ben Gvir and all these punk motherfuckers, right? But there was an Australian doctor. Hold on, let me pull up his name. I think his name is Dr. Mohammed Mustafa. And as you guys know, I also want to big up the healthcare workers. Jesus Christ. Like that, when you go down the line of atrocities that the Israelis have committed in Gaza, like, it is so ridiculous. Like, anyway, I could go on, but I'm about to play this clip from this Australian doctor, and we know that foreign doctors have been cycling in and out of Gaza as the the Israeli forces continue to bomb hospitals and refugee camps. Like, this is devilish shit. Okay, this is shit that Shaitan has co-signed on. You understand? Like, this is next level beyond depraved behavior from humans. Anyway, this guy is about to detail the kind of injuries that he has treated while he was in Gaza, and he can almost barely get through it. And I've seen several of these kinds of videos, okay, from doctors literally from everywhere, from the US, from the UK, from France, from everywhere that you can think of. And that this guy's coming from Australia, but they all say the same thing when they come back from Gaza. Like, they cannot believe the level of catastrophic injuries that are being intentionally inflicted upon kids by trained Israeli snipers and soldiers. They're targeting children, elderly, disabled with intention, and women, of course. So, anyway, let's listen to Dr. Mohammed Mustafa and his testimony about what he saw when he was in Palestine.
The times that I didn't think I'd make it back home to Australia when we were over there in Gaza. I arrived during the ceasefire, and I was surprised because I thought, hey, we're at a ceasefire, maybe it'll be okay this time. But every day we would see children with gunshot wounds to the head, single shots, snipers to the neck and head. And I thought, for me, that was too much to tolerate already. But then that night when the ceasefire broke, it was 1:30 in the morning, and all of a sudden the bombs went off everywhere. The force of the bombs was so severe that our windows in our room had blown open, and I was thrown off my bed. At that point, I knew we were in trouble, and you could hear the screams of women and children everywhere. When we composed ourselves, we went down to the emergency department, and what I found was hundreds of children and women. There were so many bodies that they didn't even fit into the hospital. Within 30 minutes, all the analgesia, all the anesthetic had run out. I was cutting children's chests open with no analgesia on the streets of Gaza. So many of those kids died in my arms that night. Do you know, I remember there was one moment that really, there was many moments that affected me, but there was one moment that really got to me, that put a light on in my head that I said, I need to do something about this. There were so many bodies that we managed to put one man onto a bed, and I got my little pocket ultrasound, and I scanned his chest, and I realized it was filled with blood, and he was struggling to breathe. So I pulled out my knife, covered in blood. It was the only one available. And I had to use that knife again and again that night. And I was cutting through his chest to put in the chest tube. And as I was doing that, I felt an arm grab my ankle. And from underneath the bed, a young woman with a severed leg was holding onto my ankle. And with the other hand, she reached out to me and she said, Sa'idni, which means help in Arabic. And she kept holding my ankle. And I thought to myself, okay, let me finish with this man. Let me get this chest drain secured, and I will help her. By the time I got the chest drain in and secured it and looked down, she was still holding my ankle, but she'd bled to death on the floor. She bled to death holding my ankle. Every day I think about that woman. Think about how I let her down. And I said to myself, when I get back here, I'm going to tell them this story. I'm going to change the course here in Australia. I'm going to tell my Prime Minister and Penny Wong, I'm going to tell them what happened that night. And I'm going to tell them what they need to do. When I took a moment to breathe, I went outside of the emergency department. There was still women and children everywhere. And we have to carry our identification on us all the time when we're there. And from my pocket, I pulled out my blue passport. It was my Australian passport, and it was covered in blood. And what I remembered was Zomi's passport that was covered in blood when they recovered her body. She's one of our own. She was there in Gaza feeding children, and she was killed. She was killed for the crime of feeding starving children. That's one of our own. Now, you might not care about the Palestinian children who are being killed, but you've got to care when it's one of our own that's being killed. It's been over a year, and there's been no justice for Zomi. Now, I've reached out to her family, and they've given me their blessing to go out there and seek something for Zomi from our government. So I'm extending an olive branch to our Prime Minister, Anthony Albanese and Penny Wong. And I understand that we won't get justice in this world right now for Zombie, but we will. But not right now. But what we're going to do...
We will get it this time. We will get justice for Zoe this time. We will get their answers. We will get the development. We will get Palestine. We will liberate Palestine.
I'm going to tell that to the Prime Minister. I promise you I will tell that to him. I want him to sit down with me. And I want him to do more for Gaza. I want this country to do more for those children in Gaza, and I want him to honor Zomi, not with words, not with fake condemnation that has no action behind it. I want him to feed those children and honor her legacy. I want Australia to feed those kids in Gaza for Zomi. She dedicated her life not just for the children of Gaza, but all around the world. And when those hospitals were being bombed, there was a moment where I thought to myself, maybe I should get out of here. But when I looked around and saw no one else running, I thought, well, we're all in it together. And I thought to myself, what was Zomi thinking when those cars were being bombed one by one? How scared was she? Because I know how scared I was. And she was abandoned. She was left. One of our own was left to bleed to death and die in Gaza while trying to feed children. I am not going to stop, and I'm not going to be quiet till our Prime Minister sits down with me and we can talk about what happened in Gaza. You know, when we were there in Gaza, it was crazy. I mean, it was wild. You know, they first started bombing the Turkish hospital, the only cancer hospital in Gaza. Then they bombed Nasser Hospital. Then they bombed the UN safe house and killed foreign UN workers. Then they executed the ambulance drivers. Then they started bombing the hospital that I was in. This was going on in Gaza, and we reached out to Penny Wong for help, and we heard nothing. We were abandoned. I'm not going to forget about those children, and there are many of them in tents right now with amputations, with maggots in those wounds that have no access to health care. We're gonna build a field hospital, an Australian field hospital in Gaza, and we're gonna look after those kids. That's what we're gonna do. And I want everybody to share this message with our Prime Minister. I will not stop and I will not rest until he sits down with me and we can have a little talk about Gaza. Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Though I do hope that the good doctor would do a little bit more with his Prime Minister than simply talk with him about Gaza, but yoke him up, maybe. That's just a fantasy. Who even said that? I don't know who said that. But apologies for the duration and for the length, because you guys, it's easy for me to get so caught up in people's words on TikTok. I have a tendency just to really enjoy listening to people express their thoughts and their feelings. And in this particular case, his experiences in, Dr. Mustafa talked about the humanitarian aid workers that have been killed, foreign nationals, in addition to Palestinian humanitarian aid workers, United Nations humanitarian aid workers, American United humanitarian aid workers, in addition to over 200 journalists, 15,000 children. Like this is unsustainable. This cannot continue, guys. And it seemed as though briefly, and I hope this international quote pressure continues, though I'm not even certain it's accurate to say humanitarian pressure, because of the incident that occurred with IDF forces firing live rounds at a diplomatic delegation of dozens of different countries that were touring the West Bank, right? Then you heard all these Western governments come out, UK, who was it? France, Canada, some other EU nations, I think some Southeast Asian nations as well, came out and actively condemned, even whispered a tiny threat of sanctions against Israel for this attack on their diplomats. And a day or so later, Israeli diplomats are now gunned down in the streets of Washington, D.C. That is high political theater, you guys. And again, I'm not one for conspiracies. It's just an observation. But it would seem as though the Israelis have a history, as it were, of, let's say, inside job assassinations, allegedly, of even sometimes their own diplomatic installations. There was an infamous car bombing that happened in London. Was it in the 90s, mid 90s? And then a similar one, I saw some reporting on this earlier. A similar one had occurred in Buenos Aires, and it turns out that it was Mossad who blew up their own shit because they was mad about a policy that didn't go their way, et cetera, et cetera. Again, looking at Elias Rodriguez's own writings in his manifesto, it seems genuinely ideologically inspired and motivated, right? But the timing, dog, I'm so the timing. I don't like the timing. The timing of this seems fucking off. There's something about the timing. But I want us to take a look at a package real quick, talking about the trickle of aid that Israel is allowing in. And to be clear, y'all, chat, help me out here. What is the number of aid trucks that are sitting on the border with, I think, Egypt, waiting to come into Gaza to bring assistance? I think I heard 1,000 or 1,100, and I my intention was to verify that number, because I'm like, that's a big number, but it could be 1,000 fucking trucks, because this aid has been amassing for many weeks now, several weeks. And I think Israel allowed roughly 100 aid trucks in, which, by the way, is grossly insufficient to assist a starving population of 2 million people. Okay. So here's the package. And the package is going to start off by showing us scenes of tremendous desperation from a bakery. But this package also includes comments from Netanyahu. And this doesn't sound like a man who is mourning the loss of two of his diplomats in a political assassination in DC. In fact, this sounds like a man who's almost kind of gloating to any of the Western leaders who have now had the tiniest hint of criticism for Israel as it pertains to the humanitarian aid blockade. But I want you guys to listen for yourselves, because I'm like, Netanyahu is popping big shit. And not to say he doesn't usually pop big shit, because he does. But, he's popping big shit to basically countries that have been sending him weapons, right? That have not agreed with the weapons embargo to Israel in spite of the ongoing genocide. No. In fact, UK still, if they're not sending weapons, which they are, they are assisting in intelligence and telling Israeli forces where to bomb, where to do this, where to do that. So fuck them all, as far as I'm concerned. But anyway, I'll let you guys take a listen to this and you gauge for yourself. Let's run the package, Will.
Changed in the UK stance towards Israel.
I think the whole House should be able to utterly condemn the Israeli government's denial of food to hungry children. It is wrong. It's appalling about the egregious actions by the Netanyahu government, unlike many honourable members. Opposing the expansion of a war that has killed thousands of children is not rewarding Hamas.
The UK's Foreign Secretary David Lammy yesterday issued his strongest statements against Israel's actions in Gaza. outrightly condemning Israel's campaign of forced starvation against Gaza's population through its blockade of aid and food into Gaza. And the UK recently came together with France and Canada to threaten sanctions against Israel if it didn't lift this humanitarian aid blockade on Gaza and cease its expansion of its military operations. This is a key shift in the rhetoric of these three countries who up until now had been key backers of Israel. And it won't surprise you that Israel did not take this well, with far-right Israeli Minister Bezalel Smotrich calling them anti-Semitic and morally aligned to terror organizations. Criticism of Israel has heavily increased in the past couple of days, particularly from some of Israel's key allies and backers. But this criticism and these condemnations come after over 70 days of complete Israeli blockade of food, water, medical aid and supplies getting into Gaza.
The risk of famine in Gaza is increasing with the deliberate withholding of humanitarian aid. 2 million people are starving, while 116,000 tons of food is blocked.
Alongside Israel's heavy escalation of its bombardment and killing in Gaza. So why this shift in rhetoric now, when some of the UK's current political leaders had very different stances and approaches to Israel's war conduct not long ago? Before becoming UK Prime Minister, Keir Starmer claimed Israel did have a right to restrict aid into Gaza.
A siege is appropriate, cutting off power, cutting off water.
Well, I think that Israel does have that right. It is an ongoing situation.
And David Lammy has frequently visited Israel and met with Israeli ministers throughout the war and reaffirmed the UK's support for Israel. And to clarify, Israel's complete blocking of food, water and aid into Gaza is completely illegal under international and humanitarian law. And humanitarian organizations have been sounding the alarm bells of famine and starvation in Gaza due to Israel's complete blockade. So after over 2 months of nothing entering Gaza, Israel announced that it will allow the most basic humanitarian aid to enter the Strip, bearing in mind that the UN says a minimum of 500 aid trucks a day are needed to meet the basic needs of Gaza's 2 million population. But Israel's decision to allow even the most basic aid to enter Gaza wasn't for humanitarian reasons at all. It was because international support for Israel was beginning to waver in light of reports of widespread starvation and famine in Gaza. And Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said we must avoid famine, both for practical reasons and diplomatic reasons. This all comes alongside Israel's stated plans to expand and increase its military operations across Gaza and take over the Strip, which has translated into increasingly heavy bombardment and almost daily massacres across Gaza, leading to a rapidly increasing official death toll and deteriorating humanitarian crisis.
The anger and the outrage of the Foreign Secretary is appreciated by us all, and I sense that it is genuine, but he knows as well as I do that the Israelis couldn't give a damn what he says in this chamber or indeed for the statement. And as he will know, since that statement is issued, dozens of Palestinians have been killed. And there have been voices of defiance from the Israeli government. Does the front bench need us to beg for the lives of those Palestinian children before they'll trigger this concrete action, whatever it might be? I'm urging, begging the Foreign Secretary to pluck up all his moral authority and courage, stand up in government against the blockage in Downing Street, and please try to save these children's lives as soon as possible.
That package is from the Middle East Eye. Obviously, I set up the wrong clip, but actually, I'm glad that we played that clip. That was a good clip to play. In turn, because I wanted to expound on it just a smidge. Yeah, I want you guys to imagine any U.S. Secretary of State standing up in Congress, as it were, and advocating for the lives of the Palestinian people and specifically the Palestinian children in that way. Like, you can't even picture it. You can't even imagine it. So just to give some context there, and again, not to big up the Starmer government too tough, because, you know, still complicit, still helping out, still giving intelligence, still sending assistance, aid, material support in some way, shape, or form. So it's definitely fuck them, but the rhetoric is shifting, and Israel doesn't like that, right? They don't like that. Let me also mention this really quick. Because of the aid that is now being allowed in, and to be clear, it's a trickle of aid. It is not nearly enough. Like, people are still going to starve because the way that this aid is being distributed is different. Before, the UN, either the UN or UNRWA or different agencies were tasked with distributing these materials, right? This food, the water, the fuel, the medicine, etc. Israel now has told the UN. Remember, they got rid of UNRWA out this bitch and told the UN to absolutely kick rocks, because now Israelis are going to distribute this aid to Palestinians via a private corporation that is primarily owned by American companies. And I believe it's called the Gaza Humanitarian Organization, the GHO, right? And what these motherfuckers are doing, instead of how the UN agencies used to do, they would bring the aid directly to the people who are starving. This privately run company, the GHO, I hope I got that acronym correct. I think I do. They're going to set up different centers, like 4 centers where Palestinians can come get aid, right? However, number one, you're forcing a starving and sick population to travel to go get food. And isn't it a deeply manipulative and ethnic cleansing tactic to drive a starving population to very specific designated areas, right? Almost like if the Palestinians showed up en masse to these feeding centers or to these refugee centers, that they could very easily just be shoveled off to the next place, which is the whole stated purpose for those that do survive. The displacement of the survivors is likely what's next on the plan for this Netanyahu government, right? They want Jordan to take the Palestinians, they want Egypt to take the Palestinians. And this is fucked up. This is I don't need to say this. So I want to come back again to the actions that happened in DC, the murdering of this couple. I mean, again, the backstory of this couple that we are being told, their intentions to marry, how the young woman, part of her job is just to work on humanitarian efforts for Palestinians. Look at how the lefties blah 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 blah. And I want to say this, like, what this guy did, or at least what he is accused to have done, Elias Rodriguez, what he is accused to have done, it definitely seems like it was premeditated. It seems as though it was intentional. And at the same time, it seems very spontaneous, right? And these tactics are not unusual in resistance, in historical resistance, right? People will do acts of political violence in order to undermine the efforts of the state, right? The US state is aiding and abetting in a genocide that Israel is on the forefront of. And I'm not sure, again, accused, alleged, all of the things, right? But I'm not sure if Mr. Rodriguez understood, like, he would in fact be isolated by this event. Like, I don't think that what he did helps to further or advance the cause of ending the starvation and the ending the humanitarian blockade and stopping the genocide of the Palestinians. I think it was the actions, if we were to believe what we're being presented, I think it was the actions of someone who was deeply frustrated and continually horrified at the things that we see and hear, at the things that I just played for you, right? A surgeon detailing dozens of children that he had to treat for headshots and sniper gunshot wounds to the neck. You understand? I don't think that people should be shot down on the streets of really any city, okay? But I really don't think that kids should be targeted for sniper shots, sniper headshots, as a method of warfare, right? As modus operandi, as standard operating procedure for the Israeli forces in their quest to so-called root out Hamas, to end terrorism. The fuck these little kids with headshots got to do with Hamas or fucking terrorism? You're goons. You're demons. You're devils, okay? Like something is deeply unhuman about you if you think that there's any justification for executing children by the thousands with sniper shots or starvation or a denial of resources so that they contract polio, which had been eradicated from Gaza until now. Elias Rodriguez is going to jail. Okay. He's going to be in jail. He's going to be in jail a long time. He knew he was going to be in jail. If he was trying to evade jail, he would have ran. He didn't run. He confessed. He left the murder weapon on the scene. And he said, I did it. And turned himself in. Most killers don't do that. His manifesto does not denote anti-Semitic rhetoric, does not express an explicit hatred for Jewish people or those who practice Judaism. So don't believe the hype. I do not believe this was a hate crime. I don't even believe this was an anti-Semitic crime. You want to see anti-Semitic violence against Jewish people in America? Go look at the Tree of Life synagogue shooting that happened in Pittsburgh some years ago. Take a look at that, okay? And again, not to say that one tragedy exceeds another, but I can tell you a tragic act of gun violence on the street of Washington, D.C. is not worse than an ongoing genocide where tens of thousands of people, possibly hundreds of thousands of people, because again, we do not know the true number of dead folks in Gaza that remain under the rubble. So we're guessing here. 50,000, 200,000. It's an obscene number. And it's one that has been allowed to persist because of the weakness and the fecklessness of really global governments. I think that people around the world have stood up and done what they have done what they could to make their voices heard, participated in boycotts, divesting, encouraging sanctions, right? Trying to put their bodies on the line of the campuses, of the encampments. There's a number of students who are being college students who are graduates, rather college graduates who are being denied their diplomas. They're having their records and their reputations tarnished because they speak out against a genocide. And gang, now is not the time to get quieter about the genocide because Israel is moving again for a final solution against these folks. It's not the time to get quieter, even though speaking up more makes you more vulnerable. Because this government, the Trump administration, even fucking under the Biden administration, for God's sakes, people lost their jobs. Entire media outlets were silenced for their positions against genocide, right? But if we be quiet now, then what? If you don't raise it up, if you don't fucking loud up the thing about a fucking genocide. By the way, not the only genocide that's happening right now. We definitely send love to the Congo. We definitely send love to Sudan. We definitely send love to the places in which people are being oppressed and slaughtered. The one in Palestine is the one that's being beamed to us right now. The one in Palestine is the one that this government, well, I'm sure no one in America. America is probably complicit in all the genocide, in all of the genocides, including the active genocides that are still happening right here within the bounds of the United States, right? Indigenous people are actively being genocided. Black people are actively being genocided. Trans people, active genocide, like it's happening. Anyway, now is not the time to be quiet, guys. It's probably more of a dangerous time to speak up, but this is the moral clarifying moment of our generation, okay? Like this one right here. And I don't give a fuck if Trump don't like it, little Marco don't like it, Fucking Netanyahu don't like it. We don't give a fuck. Because if it's Palestine today, it is definitely us tomorrow. Okay? Israel learned it from us. Yahtzee Germany learned it from us. And there's no reason to expect that what we are seeing in Palestine could also not be enacted against us. It is already being enacted in a micro way against our immigrant families who are showing up to asylum court for their court dates just to be greeted by fucking immigration, and then they're getting dragged off in handcuffs for allegedly trying to immigrate the right way, as the crackers love to get it. The crackers and wayward niggas love to talk about that shit. Well, they need to come here the right way. Motherfuckers are showing up for the court date and getting deported. How much more right way can they be? I'm gonna take a break because I'm mad. I'm very upset. I really can't stand the spin. I really hate the spin. I knew as soon as I heard a story about this shooting, I said that there you go. There you go. They're going to be your perfect victims right there. These poor Palestinian children by the thousands could not be more perfect victims. But according to the Western media lens, these are your perfect victims, your perfect victims. The hand wringing about what their future looked like. And I'm thinking, you hear about kids getting shot in the head and you don't wonder about what their future would have looked like. I'm so tired of living in the upside down, guys. I really, really am. I really, really am. I really pine and long for normalcy. But what is normal? Have I ever even experienced normal? Have any of us experienced? What is this normalcy that I'm mad that it doesn't exist? And it's like, bitch, did you ever know normal? You've been in America your whole life. When did you know normal? When was normal? When was normal? Our new future is waiting for us to create it, waiting for us to craft it, sculpt it, curate it. Do me a favor, gang. Hey, big up to the good brother Trey D. Trey D, thank you so much for your Cash App support on Tuesday's show. It's deeply appreciated. Gang, I know times is hard. I know times is hard, but if you got it, could you shake it? Could you shake a couple bucks to your homies' way? We accept the good, them shits, super chats. We'll take them. We'll also take it. Cash App, $ BIDWKB, Venmo at BIDWKB, Patreon.com/BIDWKB. Also, PayPal.me/BIDWKB. Any amount is certainly appreciated. Please and thank you. Thank you so much to our wonderful moderators. And in fact, one of our mods sent me this video because I'm already going to the palate cleanser. I was trying to find another story, and not to say that it was a shortage of stories out here in the world, but nothing really grabbed me. But that's okay, because our palate cleanser actually is a very validating thing. Courtney, thank you so much for sending this to me. I had seen it. By the time you sent it, I had seen it already, and a couple folks had sent it, and I appreciate that because my favorite rapper, as you all know, is Redman. Actually, I have many favorite rappers, but none like Reggie Noble, okay? I've been such a big fan of Redman since 96. And yes, I know for the diehards, Redman came out in 92. I did not really get on Redman until Muddy Waters, which was his third release, but came out the same year that I graduated high school, and also the same year I started smoking weed. And I said, I love this guy. I said, I don't know what it is about this guy. But I like his raps very, very, very much. And you guys know I've told my Redman stories. I've had a chance to smoke with Redman, kick it with Redman. He's a great guy. And I've also told you guys that Redman, in my experience with him, and again, I've been around him several times, never a dirt bag, never a creep, never a fucking weirdo, never, ever, ever, not once. And I've seen him with groupies around. I mean, I was not the groupie, to be clear. I was not the group, but I have been there when the groupies have been present. I never, ever, ever, never in the history of ever, never saw this man be inappropriate or sketchy or just a fucking dirtball. And by the way, it was the 2000s. He had plenty of space to be a fucking dirtball, as we are all hearing from the Diddy trial transcripts and all this shit. Like, it was opportunities for a nigga like Redman to absolutely be a dirtball, and what nobody gonna say shit about it. Okay, so when I saw this video, I said, "That's my nigga right there." The validation, I so appreciate it. So Redman put out this video, and he called it a public service announcement. And I just want you guys to know that I definitely approve this message. Will, please run the clip.
Public service announcement. I want to talk to my queens, my young queens, and parents with kids. It is a high alert right now, a high alert. Women and kids have been missing for years. No one talks about it, but it is a high alert right now. And I got a daughter, and I got a lot of nieces and a lot of female cousins. And I'm drilling them right now. And I'm telling them to not accept anything from anybody. No paper, no business cards, no money, not even a compliment. Most likely is chemicals on that business card to get you drowsy for you to be taken away. Ubers, if you're catching an Uber, women, inspect the Uber before you get in it. Take a picture of the license plate. Take a picture of the driver. Always sit behind the driver. If the driver says, "I want to stop at the gas station," get the hell out the Uber. Because most likely he'll pull up to a van for you to be taken away. If you at the club, hanging out with your girls, keep your drink in your hand 24/7 in front of you. I don't care if you're sitting at the table, sitting at the bar. Don't sit it down at all. These people are getting crafty on how they put things into the drinks. Or don't even be at the club right now because it is a high alert. And what it will do, that drink will get you drowsy for you to be taken away. If you at Walmart, Target, or any store shopping, women, especially young women, keep your head up, stay the hell off the phone, and watch your surroundings of people. If an old lady or someone asks you to help them to their car, do not accept it. Because most likely they're luring you to a van to be taken away. If there's a van or a strange car parked by your car, stay safe in the store. Call your loved ones to come get you to safety. Because most likely that van is there to take you away. If you get in your car, you see a dollar bill on your windshield or even money in your car that you know you didn't put there because maybe you left your car door open, do not touch it at all. Go back in the store, call your loved ones to get you out of there because most likely that money is there for a purpose to drug you for you to be taken away. I know it's summertime. A lot of people want to go to the islands, especially young ladies. My daughter just did it with her friends. And I'm sure a lot of parents let their daughters go when they're of age. Young ladies, don't let the locals tie no ribbon to your ankle, your wrist, your arm. Don't let them put no trinkets on you at all. Because most likely they're targeting you to be taken away. Parents with your kids, keep your kids to your side at all times. When you're getting in your car, put your kids inside the car you're getting in. And always lock your doors. before getting in the car, inspect inside of the car. Put your kids in the same side that you get in, maybe even the same door, and you get in and you lock the door immediately. Because most likely, when you put them in from the other side and you walk around to get in your door, someone will open that door and take your kids away. If you get bumped while driving your car at night, ladies, if you get bumped from behind, don't get the hell out the car. And that goes for men too. Don't get out the car at night if someone bumped your car. Call police and keep it moving, because most likely they're there to jack you out your car or women take you away. We must protect our queens, men. All the kings out there, we need to post. Let's stop posting silly shit right now. And let's protect our queens. Take a minute to protect your queens and go through some of these social media posts that's talking about women awareness and share them with your queens, because it is a high alert on children and women, especially. I approve this message.
Overwhelmingly, I approve that message. And you guys know I have a deep bias because Redman is, again, my favorite rapper. And there's a lot of validation that I feel in seeing him make a video like that, because that's obviously Reggie in his dad mode, very strong. And I'm glad to see that at least from, presentations like that. He's probably a good dad. He's probably giving his daughter and his daughter's friends and the women in his life this type of advice. And I appreciate it because I believe that it comes from a well-intentioned, good place. But even in spite of my love for Redman, I have some criticism about that advice that he's dispensing, because it's not new advice for women and for girls. I'm 46, almost 47 years old. I've been getting similar advice. I mean, it's changing with the times, obviously, but the basic premises of watch your surroundings, watch basically creepy men around you, don't walk in parking lots late at night by yourself and garages and all this shit. Like it's the same type of advice, but just updated. And it's always advice to women and girls about what to do to keep yourself safe, but seldom. I would love to hear this advice for the other side, Red. I would love to hear the advice coming from men to other men that participate in the kinds of behaviors and activities that Reggie is trying to warn women and girls about, right? And I even understand, because he mentioned, some scenarios that he talked about there actually involved women being participants in the sex trafficking trade, which is absolutely a thing. There are women that do participate in these sex trafficking rings that, try to be the girl's girl to, an unsuspecting woman or girl, will also drug women and girls drinks, will do all the fucking creepy shit to try to lure women. But we all know, okay, who's the real muscle behind sex trafficking and sexual assault? It's men, right? And I never see these videos, these kinds of advice videos for men who have these sort of predilections, for men that would take the time to research, purchase, or even concoct a chemical substance to put on a piece of paper like a business card or a dollar bill in order to render somebody incapacitated in some way. Like that, there's a certain diabolical mind that goes into the best techniques and strategies in order to make a woman sexually compliant, basically, right? And I don't hear those advice videos. Where are those advice videos? And to be clear, a brother like Redman, his response might be, well, Kim, I don't know dudes like that. I don't know how them dudes think. I don't know what them dudes think about what they talk about. I don't know no niggas like that. And he might actually believe that. But you guys know, and I know, that and maybe at Red's age, he doesn't actively know any dudes like that, but I'm sure he knew at some point in his life, right? Our brothers, even my good bruvs, like we can't pretend as though we never knew. Oh, you never hung around the dude, or you never saw the dude that was always making sure that the girl never had an empty cup, never had an empty glass, or the dudes that was actively drugging chicks. Like, I don't like it when my bros play dumb as though they never knew him, never met him, never kicked it with him, never seen him nigga. I don't even know what the fuck you're talking about. No, come on, gentlemen. I need y'all to, don't insult our collective intelligence, okay? And that's fine. You don't have to admit it out loud. It doesn't necessarily make you complicit. It doesn't make you an accomplice, but I just need y'all to just be honest. You understand? We all adults here. Let's just be fucking honest. So make them videos, my good brother Redman, who I love to pieces to this day. Again, Red gave me hope, y'all, in the sense that, they tell you you should never meet your heroes. And I know a lot of times people have met their favorite celebrity, insert profession here, and they've been wholesale jerks and utter assholes. And I verify that is not Redman. And even with the making of this video, it just confirms that this guy, I know that he has a good heart. I know that he believes everything that he's saying, but you're only dispensing advice to half the audience, my nigga Red. Okay. I need you to give the advice to the other half of the audience. You understand? Talk to these young boys, counter some of that manosphere rhetoric, being entitled to women's bodies, entitled to women's sex, entitled to women's time, entitled to women's money, entitled to women's emotional labor. Like, let's have these conversations, my good bruvs. These are the conversations you need to be having with these dudes. Thank you so much for your advice to the women, them. We've been hearing it since we was in the 4th grade, though. But, I guess it doesn't hurt to hear it again, again from a different person. But I don't hear with the same frequency or the same urgency these kinds of conversations directed to the predators or to the would-be predators. So let's try again. I actually have one more palate cleanser for you guys. And I love this because I have joined a club. I'm not one for joining clubs because, I'm antisocial. I know, peopling. Ooh. Peopling. That's a skill, and sometimes an energy set that I do not have, right? I don't know. Anyway, I found out that I'm not alone, though, because there are many members of this club, and the club is for a very specific age demographic. It is for women only. It is for what is it? AFAB women assigned female at birth. It is only for AFAB women. No disrespect to the trans girlies, but y'all don't have these problems. You know what I'm saying? I'm not the gatekeeper of womanhood, but my trans girlies do not have these perimenopause and menopause problems. Okay. So the new club is called We Do Not Care Club. And I would like to submit our founder and president for introduction to the Fire Fam. Will, could you roll the tape, please? Thank you.
So I started this club called the We Do Not Care Club, and this is for anybody going through perimenopause and menopause. I posted a video asking who wanted to join, and when I tell you we got so many members in this club, but what I did was compile a list of all the stuff that we don't care about no more, okay? We don't care about bras no more because bras suffocate us. We don't need that no more. We don't care if we look pregnant and we're really not pregnant. We don't care about matching clothes and wearing PJs all day. Clothes is clothes. That's it. That's the standard. We don't care about being on time for nothing. Baby, be happy that I showed up because I don't even want to be here. We don't care about unpainted big toenails and wearing flip-flops with them. Listen, that's a luxury to be able to paint your toenails. Toenails is toenails. Just I'm going to wear my flip-flops and that's that. We don't care that people around us think we got shitty attitudes. That's not on us. That's on them. If you don't like my attitude, get out my face then. We don't care about watching TikTok instead of cleaning up. Don't nobody have time to clean up no way. I mean, really and truly, if people around us quit messing up, then maybe we would clean up. But that's out. We don't care that we look like Adam Sandler and Wesley Snipes. That's it. If that's how I look, then that's how I look. God made me this way. We do not care that our hair not combed. Baby, hair is a luxury. We don't care about that no more. We don't care about having cellulite and short shorts. Listen, legs is legs. These is my legs. If I got cellulite, I just got cellulite. Shit, it's the same thing. We don't care that we've been wearing the same bra all week. A bra is a bra, okay? Be happy that I got one on. We don't care that our kids ain't passing. They pass their math test in 3 months. Listen, kids, go out there and figure out your life. Cause we still trying to figure out our life, okay? Do you? That's your business. And then lastly, we don't care about going in public because it's too peoply outside. It's too many people out there. It's too many people. It's too much noise. Okay. So comment down below and let's keep this going and let's keep sharing what we don't care about. Okay. And welcome to the club for all the new members. Welcome.
I'd like to thank our president and our founder for making some time to join us this evening. The next installation of the We Do Not Care Club can be found on TikTok. I encourage those that are experiencing perimenopause and menopause to please consider a membership because you are not alone. I'm sure there's a myriad of things that we do not care about, y'all, because I do not care. Let me tell you what I do not care about. I do not care about respectability, okay? Don't piss me off because I might cuss you. And guess what? I do not care who hears. I do not care who records. I do not care who posts. I do not care. Stop talking shit and keep my name out your mouth, okay? And also, I do not care if you do not like my attitude. Get out of my face to echo our Madam Founder's thoughts in the aforementioned clip. Like, there's so many things that I do not care about, and I just wanted to share that with you all because I know we are. Some of us are in the same age range, and I am not a fan of this fucking perimenopause shit at all. So, we have a deficit of fucks. I have no fucks to give. And I'm sure there's a lot of us that don't have no fucks to give. And to be clear, by the way, this is not the demographic to be pissing off, right? Across races. Okay. Like, I do not recommend pissing off women over the age of 45. I don't care if they black, white, Latina, Asian, Pacific Islander, indigenous. Do not come out your mouth sideways to women over the age of 45 because I hear that some of them are violent. I don't know. I don't know. I just heard. That's what I heard in the streets, that some of them might be violent and they don't have they have a deficit of fucks. So that's a demographic you play with at your own risk. I'm just saying what y'all think, because this is not a friendly. This demographic is not going into middle age or elderliness nicely. All of us got a little bit of a Cersei Lannister in us. We will choose violence. But anyway, gang, that's my time. I'm going to turn y'all loose. I certainly appreciate y'all making some time to join me. Please like the video on your way out the door. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Don't forget to subscribe also to Black Liberation Media. Tune in to Saturdays with Renee tomorrow at 11 a.m. Thursday, Classical Breakdown will return with myself and the Air Doctor. We are doing the reggae crooners. I've been tasked with pulling my the best of Perez Hammond. So I'm gonna be looking forward to that. And of course, next weekend, as you guys know, is the big Black Radical Organizing Conference in Indianapolis, being sponsored in part by Community Movement Builders, Black Alliance for Peace, Black Men Build. So if you're going out there, I will likely see you out there. But we'll see y'all back here for Burn It Down with Kim Brown on Tuesday. Have a happy and safe Memorial Day weekend. Don't drink and drive. Only drink and smoke if you have the skill set to do so. Thank you so much. Shout out to what's up, Damian Stoner Loner. What's up, you guys? I appreciate y'all coming out, and I'll check in with you next week. Thank you so much to Will and Molly. See y'all later, y'all. Peace, 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 peace.